The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, Ethan, I saw we had a super chat on the last one. And let me get to that first before I forget. You asked me, where did I have CJ West ranked amongst my defensive tackles? He was just outside of the top 20 for me. He, I think, was rated at 22 to 24 range, I believe. Once I get past 20, I stop ranking them. But it was a group of 5 guys that I would have, if I had done the video, how I always give you like honorable mentions, guys that are really good, that he was a part of that group. So he would have been somewhere in that 21 to 25 range. Really liked his movement skills. And I think he went in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, in such a deep defensive tackle draft class, to go in the 4th round speaks to how well he performed and the type of talent that he has. So I remember you asking me about him earlier in the process and you talking about him out of Indiana. So I made it my business to check him out. And you were right. He's a good player. He's a good football player. So anyway, let's see. The kicker situation was one that sort of baffled me. I talked about this on the Commanders Kings channel last night. And so I'd asked them, what was more surprising, not taking an edge or not doing anything to the kicking position? And everybody said edge, and obviously that was the right answer. But I said, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to talk about the kicking situation, because them not doing anything at kicker didn't sit right with me. It just didn't feel like something that jived with the rest of this offseason. They have been very proactive in everything that they have done this offseason, and they've at least put some, and I will say they put a placeholder there like they've done with everything else this offseason. They put placeholders in at the cornerback position. They put placeholders in on the defensive line. They put placeholders in so that they didn't have to feel pressured to do something. They did that with the kicking position. But today they finally made a move once and for all to end any conversation about kicker for the upcoming 2025 season. So they've swapped out kickers. Matt Gay has been brought in, signed to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal, fully guaranteed, the highest deal of the 1-year variety, fully guaranteed for a place kicker in NFL history. So what that effectively tells you is there is no kicking competition. There will be no young kicker brought in. There will be no competition brought in at any point unless Matt Gay is puking up all over himself. This is our kicker for the 2025 season. And if he performs well, they'll sign him to a long-term deal after the season is done. He's 31 years old, so he's still relatively young, especially for in kicker years. He could kick till he's 43. Kickers kick for forever, right? So he's got a massive leg. We'll talk about that. But it's funny because roughly about a month ago when the Colts released him, someone hit me up per usual, right? First thing that our fan base does anytime somebody gets released is they at me and ask me, hey, you interested? And so I did the thing that I normally do, which is no, not interested, right? Because I watched Matt Gay miss a lot of field goals last year. A lot of field goals. It felt like every time I was watching the Colts, he was missing a field goal. Now, there's context to that, and I'm going to explain that here in a second. But it turned me off to Matt Gay, especially knowing that they had just given him a hefty contract after the 2023 season. He had just gotten broken off. And so, or after the 2022 season, when he became a free agent from the Rams, he went to Indianapolis and they gave him this massive contract. And so I was expecting him to be there. A 4-year, $22 million deal. Kickers don't get those type of deals unless you're elite. And that he was for the Rams, pretty much. But the Rams were like, we're not breaking you off, bro. Sorry. You got to get that money somewhere else. And ultimately he did in Indy. And then he had that historic game. And I remember watching that game thinking, oh shit, maybe Matt Gay is worth the money, right? 4 50-plus yard field goals in like a week 3 or 4 game against Baltimore. In a game, and remember, we thought the Colts were going to stink that year. They had Gardner Minshew at quarterback. We had all figured they were going to be ass-tastic in that 2023 season. And Gardner Minshew had those boys one game from not only making the playoffs, but winning that division. But in typical Colts fashion, they sputtered down the stretch and they didn't make the postseason. But Gardner Minshew took those boys on the road to Baltimore early that season. They fought their asses off. Gay hit 4 50-plus yard field goals, an NFL record in a single game, and was the reason that they won that game 22-19 over the Ravens. He was spectacular, and that was on the road, right? So any notion of he can't kick outdoors, because really he spent the vast majority of his career kicking indoors. And I always worry about that with kickers, because the first 4 years of his career was spent in LA with the Rams. The next 2 seasons were in Indy. So he was indoors for at least half the games he was playing. And then, he's probably traveling to some indoor facilities on the road games. And so most of his career has been spent kicking inside. He will not be doing a lot of that here in Washington, but that's nor here nor there. He can kick inside and outside, as that Ravens game has illustrated. But I just remember telling that fan that hit me up, I'm not interested. And that was the end of that, right? And then a Colts fan chimed in, he's trash, like typical, fan of a team that feels scorned by a player that let them down, that they gave good money to, or they drafted. He's trash. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We're not signing him. Don't worry about it. We're going to get us a kicker. We've been going through this draft process, working out kickers. We're going to get us a young kicker. The draft comes, the draft goes. We don't draft a kicker. Not a surprise. Didn't think we were going to spend one of our 5 picks on a kicker. That was no surprise to me. Now, had Andres Borregales been available, maybe they do spend a pick on a kicker. I don't know. I still don't think kicker was ever in the plans to be drafted, right? But it always felt like a UDFA was in line, and that as soon as the draft was over, they would address kicker and they would go get themselves one. I don't know what prompted them not to do so, because 2 out of the 3 kickers that they worked out prior to the draft were still available post-draft. They didn't sign either one of them. And this is what you also have to take into consideration. We don't know how those workouts went, right? We just assume, they worked these kickers out. The workout went excellent. The guys blasted them from 50 yards plus multiple times, and they were impressed. They could have went there, worked the kicker out. He missed 3 out of 4 kicks, and they were like, yeah, we're good. We don't know what the hell happened with Maddox Trujillo. We don't know what the hell happened with Ryan Fitzgerald. All we know is that they didn't opt to sign either one of those guys post-draft. And maybe, they were outbid. Who knows? The likelihood is they said, we're good, right? We're good. Either way, they decided to go the veteran route. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we had a conversation. He was in Tampa Bay too as well. I think he started his career in Tampa Bay, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we're gonna look at that in a second. I think you're right. I think he might have started his career in Tampa. Then he went to Indy. Then he went to LA. Then he went to Indy, if I'm not mistaken. I think you're right. So I was having a conversation with my buddy, and my buddy was like, y'all need a kicker, right? And I was like, yeah. This was like 3 weeks ago, prior to the draft. So y'all need a kicker, right? I was like, I mean, we got one technically, but they gave him a vet minimum deal. He's not going to be our kicker week 1. I can tell you that right now. The money that they gave him is placeholder money. There's no guarantees. It's vet minimum. They weren't overly impressed. None of us were overly impressed with him last year. Going into that Tampa kick, he looked like he wanted to vomit. He almost missed. He missed that kick, and I still haven't forgiven him for this. He missed a kick against the Detroit Lions that would have put the Lions out of their misery and made that last drive inconsequential. Instead, he missed, and luckily for us, Jared Goff threw his third and final pick of the game, and it didn't really matter, right? So we were able to get out of there scot-free without having to worry about recovering an onside kick or any of that nonsense. And so he said, y'all looking at kickers in the draft or something? I'm like, yeah, we getting us a kicker, a young kicker. He's like, you trying to win a Super Bowl? I'm like, you damn right. When's the last time a young kicker's ever helped a team win a Super Bowl? And I started thinking. And I started thinking. And I started thinking. And I couldn't come up with one kicker of recent note. I'm pretty sure you go back in the archives, Adam Vinatieri probably was relatively young when he helped the Patriots start that run they went on. Stephen Gostkowski was pretty young, I think, when he continued to help the Patriots. But you're going back every bit of, 12 to 15 years if you're talking about Stephen Gostkowski. You're talking damn near, 20-something years if you're talking about Adam Vinatieri. Like, I can't think of the last time a young kicker came in the league and was just killing it and was actually on a good team, helping them win football games. It just doesn't happen very often. When you think about this league and you think about success, it's usually a team with a veteran kicker. We've seen some young kickers come in, have some success. Harrison Butker comes to mind. He was really good coming, I want to say, out of Georgia Tech. Can't remember what school he went to, but he was really good, really fast. I'm not sure if he was really good like his rookie season, but he was really good. And obviously the Chiefs have won big. That would probably be the one guy, right? We've seen other really good kickers come in the league, but they weren't on teams that won big. And so generally kickers, when they come in the league, they struggle a little bit. I can't explain why, because they were talented kickers in college. I mean, think about the last few guys we've seen drafted relatively high. I think the last really ridiculous pick that I remember a kicker being selected with was the 49ers taking the Michigan kicker a couple of years, like 4 years ago. And he stunk it up. Right. And he had his moments, but he's missed a lot of big kicks. Right. I don't think they're happy on their return on investment right now with him. Again, solid, but not when you spend a third round pick on a guy. You expect a return on that investment way higher than what they've gotten out of him. The Browns selected Cade York very high, second or third round, something to that effect. It was a day 2 selection they spent on him. Obviously, we know that didn't go well. He came out the gates, guns a-blazing, first game, hits like a 54-yard, game winner, was the NFL, player, rookie of the week and special teams player of the week, all that good stuff. And then his shit just went kaput after that. Like, generally speaking, you draft a kicker and you draft him high. I go all the way back to Roberto Aguayo and how disastrous that was for the Bucs with the second round pick. Generally speaking, and I just, young kickers don't usually pan out like right out of the gates. You usually need a veteran, right? So while I was gung-ho on this team adding a young kicker, I wanted one last year. I wanted the big kicker from Missouri last year that was a rookie. Obviously, they went in a different direction. And clearly, they have shown that they would prefer a veteran kicker because as soon as they got here, one of the first signings that they made was the kicker that got in trouble and that we had signed from Jacksonville, and they signed him to a 3-year deal. Like, they had every intent on having the kicker situation resolved, something that we wouldn't have to talk about. Brandon McManus, thank you. They had every intent of not having to have this conversation for multiple years. And, McManus had the situation. It ultimately was resolved where he was, I don't want to say cleared of any wrongdoing. I just don't think they had enough proof. It was her word against his, or their words against his, and it didn't stick. But he ended up in Green Bay, had a really successful season, but then got to the playoffs and he choked. But that's no here nor there. And the bottom line is, we knew Zane Gonzalez wasn't the man for the job here, and they were going to have to do something. I wasn't the biggest Matt Gay fan based off of his performance the last 2 years. And that 2023 game against Baltimore, I remember thinking, damn, I would love to have me a kicker like Matt Gay. And you know what happens a lot of times when situations like that happen, when they arise, when a kicker shows the ability, he's got a massive leg. I mean, this guy's knocking him home from 58 yards. So what happens when a kicker shows off that kind of leg is that teams get really comfortable trotting him out there from 50 plus at all types of ranges and, all types of conditions, because, hey, he's shown us the ability to do it, right? So now all of a sudden they think it's cool to always trot him out there for 55, 56, 57, 58s because we know he's capable, right? But, what that can do sometimes is it can really mess with the kicker's mechanics, because you got to kick it a lot harder and a lot further when you're that far. And if you start missing those kicks, it can mess up your psyche, right? Because kickers are really, really psychological guys. Like, it's almost like, a putter, or a golfer, right? Needing to sink a putt. You miss enough of those putts, it starts to play on your mentals, might even start messing with your mechanics. You don't want to take your kicker. Like, I'm not a big fan of the, 59-yard field goal before half. Let's just throw him out there and see if he can make it. We used to do that shit with Joey Sly all the time, and he would never make it. And I'm like, that you could cause Joey to miss a 37-yarder because you just did that shit, right? Like, just don't do that, right? But when you got that type of leg, you feel the need to just throw him out there. Why the hell not, right? You see what the Cowboys do with Brandon Aubrey now. He's really good. And a lot of times, he pays off dividends for him, but they'll send Aubrey out there for like 64-yard field goals and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. He's capable, but like, I don't know if I would be doing that, right? But he's shown the ability to bounce back. Matt Gay, on the other hand, I've, questioned him a bit, but the numbers suggest something else. So let's take a look at Matt Gay. We'll talk about, is this an upgrade or not, here in a second. But let's take a look at what he's done throughout his career. And then I want to take an even closer look at what he did specifically last year. So as someone brought up earlier, he started out his career in Tampa. And I do remember, because my guy Ree did not love Matt Gay, right? So I remember he used to always be complaining about Matt Gay and wanted him out of there. And of course, they got him out of there after 1 year. So and like I said, typical young kicker. He came out of Utah, his first season in the league. He struggles. 77% is disgusting for an NFL kicker. NFL kickers want 85% or higher, right? That's the floor for an NFL kicker. If you're lower than 85%, you did not have a good season by NFL place kicking standards. You really want something north of 85%. And you feel good about that, especially if you're hovering around 30 kicks on the season. You make over 85% of your kicks and you kick 29 or 30 or 30 or 31 or 32 kicks on the season. You had a really good season, right? So clearly the 77% wasn't good enough. And this is what I talk about when I talk about young kickers. They usually struggle when they first come into the league for whatever reason. So they move on from him. He goes to LA. And I just remember him being really good with the Rams. Like, it seemed like he didn't miss shit in LA. So he goes to LA, 14 of 16. His first season there, 87%. Great number, but really small sample size. Only played in 7 games. He came in there late in the season, and they figured out, oh, shit, I think we got something here with this kicker, Matt Gay. So they run it back. He goes 32 of 34, 94% in 2021, including from 50 yards out, 4 of 5. that season with a long of 55. So he established himself as a kicker. Not to mention, in Tampa Bay, he missed 5 extra points, right? So again, to add to the misses, he had already missed 8 field goals. He missed 5 extra points. That's 13 missed kicks. That's ridiculous. So his first year in LA, he makes all of his extra points. He makes all but 2 field goals. And so they think, all right, let's run this back with him and see if last year was a fluke or if this kid actually has figured it out. And he figured it out. Made 48 of 49 extra points, so only missed 1. That's 98%. And then, as you can see, 32 of 34 from distance, which is excellent, 94% on the season. 55 was the long there, so you know he had a leg. But that was extraordinary, right? So then you go to 2022. He follows that campaign up from 2021 with another stellar campaign, this time 28 of 30. So just a tick under his career high of 94 with a 93% field goal percentage make rate. 96% on extra points, only missed 1 like he had done the year before, 31 of 32. So he's pretty consistent there. And so the Rams were like, shit, we got us a kicker, but we don't want to pay him. So coming off of 2 straight excellent seasons, he goes to free agency, and the Colts break this man off something proper. 4 years, $22 million. I'm like, that's a lot of money for a kicker. You don't see kickers getting that kind of bread unless you're one of the best in the league. And at that time, he was one of the best in the league. So with that money, right, or in the words of a very wise man, with that type of power comes great responsibility, right? They give you that kind of bread. Now you got to deliver. And he started off excellent in 2023. I just told you, like, week 3, week 4 of that season. I remember that game. It was very early in the season because everybody thought that Indianapolis was going to suck. And they had Gardner Minshew at quarterback. They're like, yeah, there's no way this is going to work. Shane Steichen was there, first year head coach. You didn't think that there was going to be enough juice there with, Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And then they go in there and Gardner Minshew is scrapping, and these boys are in that football game, and Matt Gay is bombs away. He makes 4 kicks of 50-plus yards, including the game winner in overtime, and they beat the Ravens 22-19. And so you're thinking, if you're a Colts fan, money well spent. But the rest of the season, it was somewhat inconsistent from distance. Now, here's the beauty of Matt Gay. And as you can see, from 20 to 29 in his career, he has never missed a kick. Good. You shouldn't be missing kicks from less than 30 yards away. So he's 41 of 41 in his entire career. From 30 to 39, he's 54 of 58. He missed 1 kick that year in that distance. You don't like to see it, but, shit happens. That's the extra point distance, so you would really like your kicker to be pretty accurate there, right? Which he was last season. We'll get to last season in a second. In 2023, he was 7 of 9 from 40 to 49. Okay, not bad. That's the money distance, as I call it, because as a kicker, the vast majority of your kicks, to me, that matter are going to come from 40 to 49 yards, because you may kick more kicks from 30 to 39, drive stalls out at the 12-yard line, right? Now you're kicking a 30-yard field goal, drive stalls out at the 17. Now you're kicking a 35-yard field goal. That happens a lot in the NFL. But I'm expecting you to make that kick. I'm not even thinking about a miss here. 40 and 40 to 49, anything can happen, right? The further the ball has to travel, anything could come into play. A gust of wind could happen, push your ball slightly to the right. The further back you are, the more shit can occur, right? The closer you are, even if something goes wrong, you might have enough on it, and it's close enough that it's not impacted, right? So 40 to 49 is the money distance for me. And he was 9 of 9 that year, or 7 of 9 that year from 40 to 49. 8 of 13 from 50 plus. The year before, he was 7 of 9. So he missed 5 kicks. After starting the season off 5 of 5 from 50 yards or more, he started to become very erratic. And I think some of that was a byproduct of, they said, oh shit, he can kick from, and as you can see, he had a 58-yarder the year before, But with them, that 50, I think he won the game against Baltimore with the 57-yarder, right? It was an insane kick. And it was a cold day too, early in the season. And so they were like, yo, we can send this man out here for 56s, 58s. And so they start trying him out there, and he started, being a little bit erratic. So he went 8 of 13 from 50. So he ended up finishing up the season 33 of 41, but 5 of those misses were from 50 plus. So you're like, okay. I mean, everything else he was pretty clean, right? But that's still 80%. Doesn't look good on the stat sheet. So, and he was 35 of 36 from extra point distance. So he was good, right? So then you get to 2024. He's in the second year of his 4-year deal with Indy. And I didn't realize, because every time I watched Indy, he was out there kicking a 50-plus yard field goal and he was missing. So what I didn't realize is that this man did not miss a kick anywhere else on the field other than 50-plus. He was 9 of 9 from 20 to 29. He was 12 of 12 from 30 to 39. He was 7 of 7 from the money distance, 40 to 49. And then he was 3 of 9 from distance, from deep. So the Colts cut him loose for missing 6 50-yard field goals. He was pretty good other than that, right? 31 to 36 on 37 on the season, all misses from 50. And I'm not letting him off the hook for missing 50-yard field goals. That's a part of the job description. 3 of 9 is grotesque, right? It's nasty, right? You would much prefer him to have been 6 of 9. You can understand him missing 3 kicks from 50 plus. Shit happens, right? But missing 6 of them, 9 is a big number. But as you can see, when you have a big leg, you're going to be asked to do it more often than a kicker that doesn't. And then, you also factor in that Indy's offense wasn't finishing drives and they were stalling out. As you can attest to as a Commanders fan, we had a lot of drives that would stall out. Right? I used to call it the what did I used to call it? Oh my God. The vortex. I used to call it the vortex. We would get from the 40 to the 40, our 40 to the other team's 40. And our drive would stall out for some reason in that range, right? I called it the vortex 2 years ago when we had Sam Howell. We just, for whatever reason, with Eric Bieniemy as our play caller, we could not find our way out of the vortex. And when we did, it wasn't very far, right? And so how many times did we trot Joey Sly out there for these long-ass kicks? When you stink as an offense, you can't, sustain drives. That's what ended up happening. You kicked 13 50-plus yard field goals in 2023 and 9 more of them in 2024. He just didn't have the success rate. So his long was 56 that year. And as you can see, every year of his career, his long is 50 plus, 58, 55, 58, 57, 56, massive leg. But 83% isn't a great number. But again, you can justify it. And he went 33 of 33 on extra points. So 100%, which was a career high for him, a career best. So he actually didn't have a bad season like I thought. I just, every time I saw him, he was kicking a long kick and he would miss. So apparently, and I went digging, right? Because when they first released him, I wanted to know, and there was really no answer other than he just stunk. And I was like, well, okay. I guess I don't, my eyes aren't deceiving me. He wasn't good last year. So then when the league meetings happened, the owners meetings happened, their GM, Chris Ballard, expounded on why they moved on from Matt Gay. And essentially he said that they got a young kicker named Ryan Schrader or Spencer Schrader, excuse me. And Spencer Schrader it kind of happened a lot like Matt Gay, where Schrader bounced around last year, made a lot of kicks, kicked really well because Kansas City had issues with Butker staying healthy. So Schrader went over there, kicked the ball really well, made all of his kicks. He ended up somewhere else where they were having kicking issues, made all of his kicks there. And their general manager, Chris Ballard, was just like, you know how hard it is to kick at 2 different places, not miss a kick, be awesome. And so they gave Schrader an opportunity. And I think it was the either the final game of the season or one of the games, and he did really well for them. And so they said to themselves, we might have a kicker here, and what we don't want to do is let him go because we signed Matt Gay to this contract. Let this guy go. He ends up being an excellent kicker somewhere else. We think we got us one, so they cut loose Matt Gay, essentially. So what I'm telling you is Matt Gay wasn't bad last year. And for the way that we operate, this is probably the kind of kicker that we need. Now, I do want to show you this because this was his game logs from last year. And I think this is important to see. Now, last year, and I really just want you to focus in because he made all of his kicks everywhere else. So I just really want you to focus in on the 50-plus yard field goals because this is the kind of stuff that I'm not going to lie to you. This is the kind of stuff that scares me a bit. This is the reason why they went in a different direction too. So first game of the season, they lose to Green Bay. And if you recall, so he didn't kick in the first game. That was the reason that they had another kicker. He didn't kick in the first game because this is the Packers' second game of the season. Remember, Jordan Love got hurt over in Brazil against Green Bay or against Philadelphia on the final play of the game or whatever. So he wasn't able to play that following week. So this is Malik Willis coming in. And they lose this game 16-10. And there's a missed 50-yard field goal in this game. And again, I remember him missing. I don't remember when he missed this kick, but it doesn't really matter when you miss a kick. It does absolutely matter. And this is the point I'm trying to make. But the fact that he missed in a 16-10 game, you don't know what the momentum was, right? You don't know how this affected the Colts in that game, but it was a 50-plus yard field goal. It was long. Could have been 51, could have been 57. Don't know. Don't care. That killed momentum. They end up losing the game by 6. Who knows that? And I remember this game because at the end, Indy had the ball with a chance to win, and Green Bay had to get a stop. If he makes this field goal, instead of them having to go for the touchdown and the win, which they did not get, obviously, they could have kicked the field goal, and this game could have gone to overtime. Then they would have had a chance to win. So, that's the kind of thing that you look at, right? So you go on to the 4th week of the season against Pittsburgh. They win that game by 3. They were getting clobbered in this game, by the way. They were getting clobbered, and then your boy gets hurt. Anthony Richardson gets hurt. And Flacco comes in and he starts cooking. And they are able to mount the comeback. But he misses a kick in this game. And that kick would have put the game, I think, out of reach. But he missed. He left the door slightly ajar, but the defense was able to slam the door shut. They forced a fumble of Justin Fields late in that game. They win the game 27-24. That's the type of shit that I be on. Remember, I told you, I still haven't forgiven Zane Gonzalez for missing that kick against Detroit. We won that game by 2 touchdowns, 45-31. We should have won that game 48-31. And if you make that kick, I'm one of those people, I have PTSD, and I'm not afraid to admit it, right? I'm always thinking the worst, we're up big. What if they make this touchdown and they kick an onside kick and we don't recover and then we start feeling the pressure? We were not a great onside kick recovery team. Remember the game where Zach Ertz had to go recover that onside? It was the slowest recovery of an onside kick I've ever seen in my life. I said, oh my God, I never want to see that shit again. I don't remember what game it was. I don't remember if it was Cincinnati. I don't think it was Cincinnati, but it could have been Cincinnati. I don't remember what game, but it was the worst recovery I ever seen, but he recovered the shit. That's all that matters. But I said, I never want to see that shit again. And had they scored a touchdown on that drive, we would have had to see that shit. And we know if that defense had been put on the field again, down 1 score, you already know that shit was going to overtime. It would have been one of the most epic collapses we've ever seen. Don't miss those field goals. Put the game away. He did it, but luckily enough for them, they hung on. He makes his only kick from 50 yards against the Dolphins in a 16-10 win, so that's pretty clutch. You love to see that. And they needed every single point in that game, obviously, and so he delivered 3 field goals in that game, and that was the difference in a 16-10 win, right? So that's awesome. The following week, he goes 2 of 2 against the Texans. Great. They lose that game 23-20, but he did his part. So then you lose to the Vikings in Minnesota 21-13, and he misses a 50-yard field goal. Made one from 54, missed another one. This is indoors. I remember watching that and him missing. And, I remember him missing in the Green Bay game. I remember him missing in the Pittsburgh game. So I keep seeing this dude. And, you remember the misses more than you remember the makes, right? So I'm just like, there he go missing again and shit. And again, look at the score, right? It's a close ball game. You make that field goal, now you're down a score. Everything's different, right? And if I'm not mistaken, this was a long miss because obviously it's from 50. It gave the Vikings great field position, and I think they ended up getting some points, like a field goal out of it. I think it was like one of those right before a half misses. I want to say it was like 20-something seconds left in the first half. He misses from deep. The Vikings didn't get an opportunity. They get like a 25-yard completion, and then they kick a field goal and go into halftime feeling good. I think it was one of them type situations. I could be wrong. I think I remember that being the case, though. So, again, another big miss, right? And, again, you're not going to make all of your kicks, right? So, let me just make sure I state that again. Nobody's going to be perfect. Jets game, he was 1 of 1 from distance. 3 of 3 overall in the game that they won 28-27. So he was clutch in that game, including a 56-yarder. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the game Anthony Richardson came back, right, from his injury and scored the game-winning touchdown. They went for 2, and he got it with like 5 seconds left. It was epic. And Gay had a big kick in that game, obviously, from 56. You fast forward to the Titans game in week 16, 0 for 1 from deep. In a game they lose 30, or a game they win 38-30. So you hate that he missed it, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost his team. They put up a bunch of points in that game, ended up winning. The Giants game was crazy. I remember this game. I watched this game start to finish because the Commanders didn't play during the day. We played that night against the Atlanta Falcons. So I was able to watch all of the games during the course of that day. And I remember that this was when the Giants had the #1 pick in the draft. And I just remember them throwing this shit away. And the Colts couldn't do anything right in this game. Defensively, special teams, they gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown. Gay missed a 50-yard field goal. It was disastrous, right? Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The Giants, who probably hadn't scored 40-plus points in like 5 years, put up 45 and won the game going away. It was comical, and it was another big miss in that game by Matt Gay. Final game of the season, they win the game in overtime, but Matt Gay, he went 4 or 5. He was really good in this game, but he missed a 50-yard field goal. Again, you don't know the circumstances surrounding that 50-yard field goal, but he did miss. But they ultimately won the game in overtime. If he makes that kick in regulation, he probably win the game. But again, it's easy for me to say that. I'm just saying these kicks were spread out over, the 6 misses were spread out. It's not like he just had 1 bad game or 2 bad games and then the rest of them were really good. These are spread out over, a bunch of games. Here's my thing on Matt Gay. So I said all of that to say this. He's a really good kicker. If you don't ask him to have to kick a bunch of 50-yard plus field goals, he's capable. But just because someone is capable doesn't mean you ask them to do something over and over and over and over and over and over again. The beauty of what we do here in Washington is that we don't ask our kickers to kick a lot of 50-plus yard field goals because our offense is so prolific that if a drive stalls out for us, generally speaking, it's inside the 10. It's at the 15-yard line. It's at the 22-yard line, right? We're not asking our kickers to kick from 55 very often. Now, Would that change if you trust your kicker to do so? Because we didn't trust Seibert, right? We didn't trust Seibert to kick from that far. He made, I think, a 54-yarder in one game, but you know what? He was kicking turf and he was kicking, doing all kinds of dumb shit, hitting the ball flat. Like he was, Austin Seibert, for all the good that he did, there was also a lot of nonsense that he was doing that good kickers don't do, right? Like he was kicking dirt, he was kicking the ball flat, right? Like not getting under it. And you're just like, bro, what the F? So the last string obviously was the Dallas game. Then they went to Gonzalez, and while he's a solid kicker and he's got a pretty big leg, he's inconsistent too. And then the whole OCD thing. And look, I told you, that Tampa Bay game, he looked like he wanted to vomit. And I know he's got the OCD thing going, and that's a real thing, by the way. And so it might have just been a byproduct of him, just that, like, it's a nervous tick. That's what he does. But his facial expression, like, he could have been looking cool, calm, and collected. He could have just been like, but he looked like he was physically ill. He reminded me of Billy Cundiff, who used to always look like somebody had just took his dog of 15 years out in the back and put it down. He always looked like he had one too many drinks and he wasn't going to make it to the bathroom. Or he just ate the worst taco ever and he wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it to the bathroom. He always looked uncomfortable in those situations. Same thing I felt with Zane Gonzalez. And he wasn't terrible, but he was a kicker you felt like you needed to upgrade from. And we did. Now, the thing I love about Matt Gay, this is what I'm going to hang my hat on, even though I wanted a young kicker. I'm not going to sit here in front. I wanted a young kicker, but having that conversation and playing it back in my head with my buddy who was like, young kickers, it's like the NBA. You're not going to win an NBA championship with young players. You're just not. You need vets. That's the fact of the matter. I think it's kind of the same thing with place kickers. Like, it's cool to have a young kicker, but somewhere along the way, that young kicker is going to probably let you down. You need a veteran kicker. Guy that's been there, done that, been in those big pressure situations, has had the ups, had the downs, but he understands, I got to stay here. I got to stay flat as a kicker because I got to stay even keel. And that's what you need in those situations. You need a guy that's been there, done that. Not a young guy that, was in college a year ago and hasn't had these types of situations in the NFL. And because you're going to miss kicks. As a kicker, you're going to miss kicks. And you got to be able to bounce back. It's like kicker position is much like the cornerback position. You're going to get beat as a corner. You're going to get beat. And your ability to bounce back as a corner is going to go a long way in determining how successful you're going to be in this league. You got to have selective memory. As a kicker, it's the same thing. So I think they got a really good kicker here. We'll see. They clearly they want to be done with this kicking conversation because they gave this man the most guaranteed money for a place kicker on a one-year deal in NFL history at $4.5 million. All of that is guaranteed money. So they're not bringing in another kicker. The kicking competition is dead. Dead, I tell you. And here's the thing I love about him. He doesn't miss kicks south of 50 yards, pretty much. Anything south of 50, he's money. And that's where the bulk of our field goal attempts come from. We kick a lot of extra points around here. A lot of touchdowns are being scored, right? We had a really big extra point miss last year. You all know about it. I don't need to remind you about that. We also had a field goal missed in that game. That same game, extra point and a field goal missed in that game. So it was a rough go of it for old Austin Seibert that day. Zane Gonzalez was solid last year, but Matt Gay is an upgrade. Good, solid NFL veteran kicker, only 31 years old, so you can grow with him. If he has a really good season for us this year, I could see him getting a 3-year contract extension in the offseason. We'll see how that goes. But one thing's for sure. The accuracy that this man has displayed from 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and 40 to 49 is exactly what we're looking for. Now, the 50 pluses, if we only ask him to kick 3 of them this season, and my guess is he'll end up kicking 5 or 6 of them here in Washington. And if that's the number, if we only ask him to kick 5 or 6 from 50 plus, I got a feeling that he'll be really good. He'll be 4 of 6. He'll be 3 of 5, right? From distance. He'll hit a good percentage of them, 4 or 5. I don't think he'll be perfect, but he'll do a really good job. If you start asking him to kick 8, 9, 10, 11 of those holes, that's when you get into trouble. That's when you get the 5 of 11 from deep. That's when you get like you saw last year, 3 of 9 from deep. That's not our forte. That's not our MO, but maybe that wasn't our MO last year because we didn't trust our place kickers to do it. Now you got a kicker is capable. Maybe they don't go for it on 4th down, 4th and 4 from the 35-yard line. Maybe they kick the 53-yard field goal now. We want to go for it. That's what we established ourselves as last year. We want to press the gas. I hope they continue to be aggressive, but having a kicker that makes you comfortable kicking from those distances, DQ would always say, oh, we went for it because we had a certain, marker, mile marker, as he always likes to say, of where we were comfortable having our kicker kick. Remember that? I want to say it was what game was it? I wasn't happy with DQ after that game. Was it the Dallas game? I know I was very displeased with DQ after the Dallas game. I thought he showed the Cowboys too much respect. He had too much respect for his former colleagues. I didn't think he was aggressive at all in that game. And there was another game, though, where I thought he was conservative. He decided to kick a field goal, or he decided to punt. Was it the Steelers game? Might have been the Steelers game. I don't remember what game it was. But either way, let's hope that Matt Gay's presence doesn't all of a sudden invoke this need to be passive aggressive and not want to go for it. And all of a sudden now we've got this man attempting a bunch of 50-plus yard field goals. He's capable, but again, we've seen a large enough sample size to know that if you put him out there too many damn times from 50-plus, it can turn disastrous on you. But we got ourselves a really good kicker. So this is an upgrade. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted a young kicker, but you know what? What I want? I want success. And I want big success. And I have championship level aspirations now. And if you have championship aspirations, generally speaking, you're not going to get that with a young kicker. I wanted Mavis last year, the kicker from Missouri. I don't even know if he's in the league right now. Right? I don't even know where he is. If he's kicking on the NFL roster, if he's in the UFL or what. I don't know where he is. If he's somebody's practice squad, I don't know what he's up to. I just know young kickers generally don't come in here and have a massive impact on a good football team because young kickers miss kicks. And not just of the 50-plus variety. They miss kicks from 37 yards. They miss kicks from 42 yards. They miss kicks from 47 yards. And they struggle to bounce back after they miss one kick. Then that leads to a second kick missed and a third kick missed. Veteran kickers, yeah, look, they're going to miss kicks, but they can shake it off. They've been there. They've done that. So I'd rather have a veteran than a young guy because of where we are in our process. But I just want this is ultimately why I wanted a young kicker. I just don't want to do this shit every year, right? I don't want to have these conversations about place kicker year in, year out. Feels like we've been having kicker conversations for the last 7-8 years because every year we were looking at what was the damn kicker name that was here for a bunch of years? Matter of fact, where the hell is he now? Is he still in Cleveland? D-Hop. Every year with D-Hop's ass, felt like he'd make enough kicks where enough people would be comfortable, but he missed enough kicks where you go, man, we could do better than his ass. We need at least bring in some competition. I don't even want to do that shit, man. I don't want to have those conversations. We knew Joey Sly was shaky. Joey Sly would hit a 56-yarder, and then Joey Sly would miss a 37-yarder, and then look and stare at the goalposts like them shits moved magically, you know, after he kicked the ball or something. Like he's in disbelief. Like, no, you just kicked the damn ball and missed that bitch. Don't look at the goalposts like them shits moved on your head. Ooh, can't get me too slow. Like it's the goddamn, you know, Geico commercial or some shit. No, you just missed. I got tired of that blank stare after a miss from 38 yards out. Like, he got to carry his ass, man. I'm sick of this shit. And don't get me started on the debacle that was 2022, right? With Chris Blewett and Brian Johnson and all these bums we had that year. Don't get me started on that shit. I'm tired, boss. I'm tired with this kicking shit. I'm tired. We went through like 9 kickers last year. I know it was like 4 or 5. It felt like 25. I'm tired, boss. I just want this shit to be done, right? I just want us to find a guy and not have to have these conversations. For it, like, at least give me a 3-year sabbatical, right? Where we could just not worry about kicker. And then if he goes off the deep end one year and we're back here, you know, in 2028, okay, cool. At least I had some time away from this kicking shit. We do this every year. Every year. I'm just tired, boss. Come on, Matt Gay. Solve our kicking woes. Bring some stability to our kicking position, please. It's one of the last things outside of edge rusher that we need going into 2025. Well, this is off the table now. Got us a kicker. Not going to talk about it until we get to the preseason and we see him start to kick, or we start hearing about him in practice. Matt Gay went 4 of 7 in kicks today. That's not what we want to hear. We want to hear Matt Gay was perfect today, right? Ended practice with a kick. If he makes a kick, they end practice. If he misses, practice goes on, that sort of thing, and he made it. Great. That's what we want to hear. Get to the game. He does what he's supposed to do, and we can go on about our business on our merry way. So, let's see. And I've heard your jokes, right? I heard that the Commanders went the Gay way, right? Right. So the joke is Matt Gay, obviously last name Gay, is the place kicker. Tress Way will be his holder, right? So the Gay way. Hey, y'all chill out, man. Y'all cool out, man. Y'all on some other shit. Chill. But I saw it on social media, the Gay way. Hey, y'all cool out, man. Relax. But y'all get us canceled around here. Let's get to the comment section real quick, and then I get y'all out of here. I ain't come to talk y'all head off, but I do want to remind you that we will be live tonight, 9 p.m., breaking down the Commanders draft. All 5 picks, talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, the things that they bring to the table, and how they fit into the equation, and what should be a reasonable expectation for these guys as they come on to the roster, heading into rookie mini camps and obviously into the upcoming season. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Zoe writes, Gay kicked 80% the last 2 years, need to have a competition. And not happening, Zoe. They didn't give this man $4.5 million fully guaranteed, the biggest contract for a 1-year deal for a place kicker in NFL history, to bring in competition, to unseat him. They didn't even want, look, look, we've been penny pinching over here. All right? Like, Chef P doesn't, he was only willing to spend $4 million at the safety position. Like, Will Harris, come get this 2-year, $8 million. They didn't even want to pay and not to say that it was the wrong decision, but they didn't even want to pay Jeremy Chin $8 million a year. This man left to go to Vegas for a 2-year, $16 million deal. You think they're going to waste $4.5 million on a kicker? Hell no. Ain't no competition coming in here, bro. Even if they bring a kicker in, it's to rest Matt Gay's leg. They ain't bringing in no competition to actually challenge him and push him so that they can cut him unless he starts acting up. Like, unless he shows signs early on of, uh-oh, we might have got this shit wrong. This is our kicker for 2025 right here. And yes, the 80%, and again, and you have to make sure you put it in its proper context. If you remove the misses from 50 plus, he's around 90%. Like, let's keep it a bean. He's probably over 90% because he was 100% in all of his kicks outside of the 50-yarders, right? Anything under 50, he nailed it last year. The year before, I think he only missed 3 kicks in inside of 50. So I gotta imagine that he's probably like at 94, 95% on his kicks inside of 50 the last 2 years. It's the 50-yarders that have got the last 2 years in particular. So again, you have to put it in its proper context. I initially, when this news came out, was like, we need to bring in competition. But when I actually did a deep dive into his numbers, because I'm telling you, when I watched him, he was always missing a kick, but it was always from 50 plus, though. It was always from 50 plus, but he was always missing a damn kick. You miss enough of them, and fans get tired. They don't give a shit where the kick from. He come here, and he missed 6 kicks this year from 50 yards. Y'all gonna be sick of his ass, too. Shit, y'all get mad when the kicker missed 1 kick. Get his ass out of here, right? After 1 miss, let alone 6 of them hoes, right? He made every other kick. He made every other, including all of his extra points. He didn't miss another kick except for 50. And the Colts fans like, get his ass out of here. And I'm telling you, y'all would do the same thing. One thing I've learned over my years of covering, football and being a fan and then, looking and talking to other fans do not have patience for kickers. They just don't. They do not. They have very thin patience for specialists in general. When they love you, they love you. But you gotta build up that equity. You have to earn their trust. And once you do, you're a made man until it get to a point where, hey, bro, I can't defend you no more. You gotta give me something, or I'm gonna have to turn the mob loose on you. But if you come in tripping, they'll turn on you quick. Austin Seibert made 7 field goals and set a franchise record and won us a game by himself. The first sight of trouble, they bailed on this man. They bailed on that man. That Baltimore game where he missed the kick and then barely made the other one, people was like, yo, we gotta check this dude. Right? It was a lot of fans was like, yo, chill, bro. Seibert's been clutch for us. But it was a lot. There was still a good amount of fans was like, yo, we gotta check this dude, man. He tripping. Both were right. Right? Both were right. Seibert had built up some equity, and yeah, he was tripping, and that was the beginning of him really to start tripping. Right? Seibert was more good than he was bad, but when he was bad, it was bad. The Cowboys game was unforgivable. He hadn't built up enough equity, apparently. So, and look, I tried to defend Austin Seibert, but the thing that got me, it wasn't the misses, it was how he was missing. How he was striking the football. Like, bro, you can't kick dirt in the ball. You can't kick the ball right in the middle. You ain't getting up under the ball. You a professional kicker, bro. What are we doing here? That was the shit that got me. So, we'll see what Matt Gay does. I get it, 80%, but if you take the 80% and you just take the kicks from 50 yards and in and put them in a vacuum, you're talking about a totally different kicker, which is what I think we're going to ask him to do here in Washington. And again, I could be wrong. Victor, stand up. You, my friend, are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show Victor some love. Welcome with open arms. Welcome to the squad. Victor, glad to have you on board. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Zane got treated how I would treat a Louie T pizza. Thrown in the garbage. LOL. This guy definitely seems like an upgrade, though. Hope he works out. He is an upgrade. We have upgraded the place kicking position. The question now becomes, to what extent did we upgrade the position? If he does what he did for Indy last year from 50 in, yeah, we definitely upgraded the position. Because not only did this man make every field goal that was south of 50 yards, he also made every extra point, which has also been a pretty big effing deal here. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are other teams who have had issues with extra points. But I can tell you, when we've been going on our kicking escapades here of the last 4 or 5 years, we've missed a lot of extra points. Joey Sly was good for a miss in the most inopportune time. Not that there's ever a right time to miss an extra point, but Joey Sly would always miss an extra point. Dustin Hopkins, remember the Detroit game in 2021? Early in that season, it was week 2. And that's the Carson Wentz season, for those of you who need reminding. 2022 season, not 2021. 2022 season was the Carson Wentz season. Because 2020 was Dwayne Haskins, your starter week 1. 2021 was Ryan Fitzpatrick, your starter week 1. And then 2022 was Carson Wentz, your starter week 1. So Wentz had started out the season hot, scorched, had the 2 interceptions, the big game against Jacksonville to come from behind, all that good stuff. So we go to Detroit, and we had a solid game, but Wentz had a bad interception over the middle of the field trying to throw the ball to Logan Thomas. And the Lions, our defense just couldn't stop the Lions. And that was the DeAndre Swift fall down, get up, wipe himself off, head, shoulders, knees, toes, cut back twice, walk in the end zone. Nobody touched him. If it was flag football, if it was two-hand touch, he would have scored a touchdown. The man went down, full body, caught it, got up, did the wipe me down, all the way down, and then cut back and scored and walked in the end zone. And I was like, man, this defense stinks. And then we went through all that shit, scored a touchdown at the end, needed an extra point to cut the lead to 8 so you'd have a chance to kick an onside kick and all that good stuff. And Dustin Hopkins missed the kick. And that's the type of shit we be on, right? Just like Austin Seibert last year against Dallas, right? You do all of this shit to get back in the game and miss the extra point. That's been a thing for us, these damn extra points. So if you bring me a dude, too, that's money from extra point distance, because Zane always felt like at any time an extra point could go awry with him. I don't know if he ever missed one here, but it felt like, boy, that one, because Zane always had to line, I don't know if you remember, Zane always had to line his kicks up on the left hash, and that shit had this massive draw to the right? So he would always line his kicks up on the left hash, kick it, and it would just draw. And if there was any wind, that shit was barely going to squeeze inside that right upright. That's what happened to us against the Bucs. The final play before the kick, they had Jaden take the knee on the left hash because that's where he likes it. And that shit had that massive draw. And that shit hit the upright, that right upright. And that's why I was always nervous with Zane Gonzalez, because he had a massive draw to his kicks to that damn right. Matt Gay sounds like his shit just goes straight down the middle. That's what I want. Hit that shit straight down the goddamn middle. Because you should be able to duplicate that every time. Boop, down the middle. So, anyway. I digress. Well, then it was Joey Sly. He said Sly was Hopkins wasn't on the roster 22. Then it was Joey Sly ass. It was one of their ass. I think you're right, because whatever season we played Kansas City, 2020, had to be 21 because we playing Kansas City again this year. That was Dustin Hopkins' last game here. He missed 2 field goals in that game. And I remember Ron being pissed, and they cut him after that game. And that's when we had all of that shit happen. So that whole escapade with all those kickers must have been 2021. When we went through Chris Blewett and all of that bullshit. It must have been 2021, not 2022. Because Sly came in at the end of that season, held it down, and then ended up being our kicker for the next 2 years, 22 and 23. Then they moved on from him in 24, obviously, this past year. He went to New England, and we thought we had a kicker in Brandon McManus. The allegations happened. We move on from him, and then we started our own journey on kickers. Remember, what was the name of the dude? Ahmed. Remember Ahmed was here for like a little cup of tea? I mean, he never kicked in a game for us. But what was his name? Something Ahmed or Ahmed something? I think it was something Ahmed. Man, I'm sick of this kicker shit. This is why I'm sick of this kicker shit. Please, Matt Gay, solve this for us, please. Anyway, I digress. Let me get out of here, man. I've talked y'all to death long enough. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Hopefully you'll join me tonight. We'll be breaking down the draft for the Commanders, in-depth breakdown. And what I'm thinking about doing, I haven't decided if I'm going to do it yet, but for the mob, what I'm thinking about doing is just a little quick, film study on all of these guys. Just a brief one. We maybe go through one game, kind of look at, what they bring to the table so you can kind of have a sense of what these guys do. So I'm thinking about doing that at some point. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it or not, but I think it's something I want to do for the mob. So, and I may open it up to the entire fan base. I don't know. We'll see. But I am thinking about doing that. So anyway, I digress. You guys have a good one. Take care. Y'all know what it is. Post up. Take command. If anybody asks you if we upgraded the kicking position, the answer is yes, we did. We got us a better kicker. Is he perfect? No. No kicker is. But when he's at his best, he's one of the best in the league. When he's at his best, he's one of the best in the league. I can live with that. Because I think we're going to put him in a position where he's going to be kicking a bunch of extra points and a few 30s and, a few 40s. And that about it. You might kick a couple of 50s, but you know how we do. And I'm hoping, and this is my only hope with DQ in particular, is that he doesn't allow Matt Gay's big leg to then make him passive aggressive. And all of a sudden, he doesn't want to go for it on 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 because he knows Matt Gay is capable. Because last year, there were times where he would say, oh, this was our mile marker. And once we got there, we decided that we would kick the field goal once we got to that point. And, our kickers didn't deliver. So if Matt Gay delivers from 54 the first time they send him out there, now DQ might be saying, well, if we get to the 32-yard line, we get to the 34-yard line, we get to the 36-yard line, we can kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 3. No, remain aggressive. Be who you are. If we do that, I'm going to love this signing of Matt Gay. If he does what he did last year. Now, we said the same shit about Carson Wentz. Last time we got a dude from Indianapolis, and we said this same shit. It did not go well when we said, if he just do what he did last year, we're straight. If Carson Wentz just goes 27-7 like he did last year for Indy, we're going to be straight. Carson Wentz did not do that shit here in Washington. So I still have PTSD. Abdullah, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Abdullah writes, I ain't trying to see no retirement home defensive end. What are the possibilities for defensive end, Lou? I mean, what do you expect to get this time of the year? That's all that's left. I don't think Zadarius Smith is a retirement home, but Von Miller is a retirement home defensive end, which is why I don't want him. But Zadarius Smith, he getting up there, but I still think he can help. But your options aren't plentiful. I'll just look for you. You ask, I'll check. I'll look and see who's available right now, but I'm just telling you, it's not a lot available. Let's see. All right, edge rushers. And so you got Von Miller, Matthew Judon, Preston Smith. So Von Miller is 36. Matthew Judon is 32. By the time the season starts, he'll be 33. Preston Smith is 32. Zadarius Smith is 32. By the time the season starts, he will be about to turn 33. DeMarcus Walker, Foley Fatukasi, John Kaminsky. I think John Kaminsky might have retired, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure if he did or not. I think he did. Brandon Graham, I think, retired for the Eagles. If he didn't, he should at 37 years old. Dennis Gardak is interesting, but again, nobody's getting excited because we signed Dennis Gardak. He's 31 years. He's 30 years old. He'll about to be 31 now. He'll be 31 before the season starts. Nobody's going to be excited because we signed Dennis Gardak. I mean, this is what's left, man. Like, I understand you don't want a retirement home defensive end, but that's what's left. So, I'm not tripping about it at this point. It is what it is. If we can get Zadarius Smith, I'll be a happy man. To me, he makes the most sense. To me, he's the guy that has the most juice left of any of these pass rushers that I'm looking at. And again, if you take a chance on one of these younger guys, all you're doing is essentially signing another Jacob Martin, somebody who hasn't done it at a high level. So again, I'd rather just go with a proven vet. We are what we are. And you have to be comfortable with that at this point. We are what we are. Abdallah, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? They better pull something out. They behind because let's be real. We could be in trouble. Fowler was good, but we still need more. And now he's gone. If they do nothing at edge rusher, it'll be disappointing, but I feel like I say this every offseason. Whether you want to hear it or not, it is what it is. You can't fix everything in one offseason. They fixed just about everything. Just about everything. We just talked about them upgrading the kicker position. They've upgraded the offensive line exponentially. Like, it's a brand new offensive line, and it looks good so far, right? Like, on paper, it looks great on paper. We'll see what it looks like on the field, but on paper, it looks great. Secondary has been transformed. Again, we don't know what Will Harris is, right? Presumably, he'll be the starting safety opposite of Quan Martin. Don't know what he's going to bring to this defense, but boy, we love the cornerback room now. That looks great. They've upgraded the athleticism at linebacker. You're still going to but we felt like that was still one of the strengths of our team last year. Both of those guys were all pros in Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. So you're not complaining about two all-pro linebackers, right? That didn't need to be fixed necessarily. You just needed to add more athleticism to the group. So all in all, what I'm telling you is the defense everywhere, and the biggest deficiency defensively last year wasn't in the secondary. It was the run defense. Well, we feel like we've bolstered that and we've fixed that. So, yes, theoretically speaking, we needed more pass rush last year, but we still were like a top 13 pass rushing group last year, top 15 for sure. We still got 42, 43, 44 sacks somewhere along those lines last year. We were still solid at getting to the quarterback. Look, Dante Fowler Jr. is gone. You got to replace double-digit sacks. Maybe it takes 3 guys to do that. As long as you replace the production, you should be fine. Who knows? Jacob Martin might come in here and have a career year and have 8.5 sacks. Who knows? I wouldn't bank on that, but who knows? The bottom line is you can't fix everything. We got faster at receiver. The position is better. We got better on offensive line. We got better at running back. They fixed the punt returning position finally. Like, they fixed almost everything except edge rusher with limited resources, I may add, because they went out and made some big moves to try to help put us over the top. You can't be upset. I mean, you can. I just wouldn't be, is what I'm saying. I just wouldn't be. But, I mean, if you want to be upset, I get it. I get it. But they're not panicking. Neither should you. And they're going to do something. Lance Newmark pretty much told us after the draft met its conclusion that they're already looking at the free agent edge rushing market. They're going to do something. Again, I said this about running back. I said they're going to get a running back. It may not be the running back that you want, but they're going to get a running back. They're going to get an edge rusher in this free agent market, right? And they're hoping somebody shakes free from a team, after the draft, after these rookie minis, somebody shakes free that, they didn't expect to be available, but they're going to get an edge rusher. It may not be an edge rusher that you want, but they're going to get somebody. And who knows? Maybe something even better, something younger shakes free, like Noah Brown did right before the season as cuts start to be made. You just never know. But they're going to do something. They're going to do something. Abdallah, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Abdallah, double up. I know you doubled up last time, but I don't think I said it last time, so I'm going to double up now. I would be open to Preston Smith and James Houston, or maybe they're waiting for cut downs. I just feel jealous, Lou. Don't worry, we'll get ours. I too felt jealous on day number 2 of the draft. I too felt jealous once I realized the likelihood is we're not going to get the edge that I coveted. But it was less about edge and it was more about everybody in the division has that like athletically freaky, athletic freak linebacker that can run and create havoc. Eagles getting Campbell, Cowboys having Parsons, Giants having your boy from Penn State. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. But I was like, I want one too. But we just got to wait. Be patient. I can tell you this. They may all have all of that shit, and they may all have one. They don't have Jaden Daniels. That's how I sleep well at night. The most important position in the entire league, in the entire sport, we got the best out of all of them. I sleep well at night because of that. So, and so to answer your question or to respond to your comment, I want nothing to do with Preston Smith. I want nothing to do with Preston Smith. He looked washed in Pittsburgh. Washed. I know they were disappointed at the shit they got when they traded for Preston Smith to help them be more prolific on defense. And he did absolutely nothing. I think he's cooked at this point. Preston Smith. He may get work as you get close to the season. Team wants a veteran in it. But he looked cooked to me. Preston never had a step to give in the first place. He looked old now. James Houston, let me check and see if he's available. I trust you, but I'm checking anyway. Again, James Houston ain't going to make a big difference. Oh, he's available. He's available. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. James Houston would be the equivalent of is really the equivalent of what you already have on the roster, right? He's Jacob Martin with 1 year of better production. He's Jacob Martin. But he's never done it on a large scale. He's never done it with a huge sample size. He hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years. So he's unreliable, and he's not a guy that has a proven track record. I'd rather go get Zadarius Smith personally. Been there, done that, proven track record. Is he explosive and dynamic? No. No, he's not. But I know I can trust him. Abdallah, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Abdallah writes, "We not letting you leave, Lou. Talk about the defensive end for another hour, please." He funny, man. No worries. I'll be back later on tonight. To talk about this draft in its totality. And like I said, what my goal is to break these players down today or tonight, and then eventually circle back and we get into some film of these dudes. When we watch the all 22s together, kind of go through some of the strengths, the weaknesses, some of the things that I've seen, and show you examples of those things on tape. So again, I'm not guaranteeing that that's what's going to happen, but that's kind of my thought process. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon. It's a beautiful day outside. If you're on the East Coast, get outside, touch grass, right? Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, and then hopefully you find enough time in your busy schedule and your busy, fruitful lives to kick it with the kid a little bit later on tonight as we dive deep headfirst into this 5-player draft that the Commanders have put together. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, just curious, who would you have drafted at 29? I probably would have gone with who was available. I know I probably would have gone with an edge rusher then, just because I felt like that was where the greatest, being that we were at 61 for our next selection. I probably would have gone edge rusher then, knowing that you weren't going to have another shot at most of those guys that were available at 29 because you don't pick until 61. So that was my thought process. But again, I don't look to undermine them. I'm not questioning them because they got all the information, right? They got all the information on all of these players. They met with countless people. They felt really good. And look, I can't say out of one side of my mouth, I want to upgrade this offensive line. Brandon Coleman is not a tackle. He is a guard. I can't say that 50 million times. Then they go get the tackle. And now I'm like, they should have drafted edge rusher. No, they did the thing that I wanted them to do, which is upgrade the tackle position so that Brandon Coleman can play his probably more natural position of guard. And I've said this all along. We got to protect Jaden Daniels. He is our biggest, best, and you could argue the greatest asset that this organization has ever had. We need to protect him. And so they did. And I'll take it a step further. Had you not taken JCJ when you took him, the Chiefs were going to take him. And that's why they wanted to trade back. They could have picked up a 5th-round pick from Philadelphia. But they knew if they traded back 2 spots, that's all it was going to take was 2 spots. They traded back 2 spots. The Chiefs were going to take JCJ, and they would have been left out in the cold, and they would have had to take Josh Simmons, a guy that's coming off of an injury that they don't trust, necessarily. So they did the thing that they had to do when they had to do it. Everything makes sense. It's rational. It makes tons of sense. And, I probably would have gone the edge rusher route, though. Just knowing that it was something that we wanted to address, knowing that you weren't going to have an opportunity with those players that were on the board at that time. I would have gone edge rusher. I was never in favor of Travion Henderson in the first round. That was never my thought process, because the draft was just so rich with backs. You could get you one at any time. If we already had us like a stud first or second down back, like if we trusted B-Rob, like if B-Rob was Ollie Gordon the second, I would have probably been more in favor of Travion Henderson at 29, because then you would be able to utilize him correctly, the way that he's supposed to be utilized. And that's not to say that you couldn't go get that guy next year in the draft. But again, if you're going to spend a first-round pick on a running back, you better be prepared to maximize every single carry that you're getting out of that running back, every single touch. And not to say that we wouldn't have been, but I think we would have been in a position where we would have been asking too much of Travion Henderson because of what B-Rob has been and hasn't been. So I just prefer that they, take a running back later, which they did. I would have taken an edge probably, more likely than not. But I love the Connerly move. I love it. Again, it's not sexy, but it's a necessary thing. It's not a necessary evil. It's not bad. It's necessary. So I love it. Anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. See you guys next time. Hopefully tonight. If not, definitely got a podcast coming your way on Wednesday. And we'll probably be live again Thursday night, is my guess. If not Wednesday night. But definitely going to be live tonight for sure. So till then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. See you later on tonight.